Hello and welcome. My name is Robert Allen, aka Trebor7, and this will be a tutorial on how to make o.r.m.e.s using the wet method. Here's a list of the supplies we'll need. You can pause and jot these down, or they'll be mentioned again throughout the video. And I have links to suppliers of these materials on my website. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is lay down some type of absorbent material and fill a 1-gallon glass jar 3/4 of the way full with distilled or spring water. This is actually a little bit too much water. I'm using clips from several different batches, so if it looks a little inconsistent or out of order, that's why. But get 3/4 of the water in the jar, and then we're going to add 1 to 2 cups of Dead Sea salt. Now, you can, if this is your first time making o.r.m.e.s, I'd recommend using 1 cup. And this is bokek salt, which renders a lot of o.r.m.e.s, so it's a great salt to start off with for beginners. And you can buy that at saltworks.us. And other salts have different vibrations, different qualities. And one of the other salts I use is called Minera, and it's from the San Francisco Salt Company. And then you can also use condensed salt lake water. And the salt lake water I use is from a gentleman by the name of Sikh Verde. And this stuff is called Chow. Chow is the Tibetan word for Himalayan mountains. So this could be called Tibetan liquid Himalayan salt. And you can't just go out and get a bucket of water out from the ocean. You have to extract the water from the center of the ocean because pollutants either float or sink. So if you extract it from the middle of the ocean or sea or lake, you'll get the purest water. And this water has been tested, by the way, by the Chinese Academy of Science for content and toxicity, and they found them to be safe, non-toxic, and ingestible. A bottle of that salt water running about 15 bucks, I think. But anyway, whether you're using salt or salt water, you have to mix it up and stir it thoroughly until it completely dissolves into the water. And this process usually takes anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes. And if you see that there's still granules in the bottom, you need to stir it and wait a little longer. But once it's fully mixed, it's ready to use. While we're waiting for the salt water to dissolve, we'll mix up our lye solution. Lye is made using 1 cup of distilled water to 2 tablespoons of dry sodium hydroxide. Now, of course, sodium hydroxide is kind of dangerous and toxic. It's what's used to make hominy and pretzels and other foods. You don't actually consume this stuff. It's just part of the process of making it. But like I said, it's very dangerous, so you need to wear protective clothing, preferably long sleeves, rubber gloves, maybe even a mask and goggles. And it's okay to use a plastic measuring spoon to add the sodium hydroxide, but you'll want to use a metal spoon to mix it or to stir it with. Okay, and once you add this stuff, you want to get to stirring right away because the sodium hydroxide tends to cake up and try to stick to the bottom of the glass. So you want to stir it up real good, get all those chunks and flakes mixed into the water, and it'll start to turn cloudy and gas off. And the fumes that come off of this can make you sick, guys. So you want to either mix this up outdoors or be sure and do it with the windows and doors and stuff open with good ventilation and keep your nose away from it. But you may have to stir it more than once or twice. Sometimes, just wait a little while. If you see some stuff settle to the bottom, you'll have to stir it again and wait. Typically takes about 30 minutes for it to clear and cool down. And the final pH of that stuff is 14. And if you're using more than a cup of Dead Sea salt, it may take more than 1 cup of lye solution. So mix this up, pour it into a mason jar, and then mix you another cup in the same way. And once it clouds and cools, it's ready to use. But be very careful. And if you spill any of this on you, white vinegar, distilled vinegar, is a good way to clean that up and stop the chemical burn. Okay, pH is a big part of this. What we're doing is raising this saltwater pH up to 10.78. But in order to do that, we have to be able to measure the pH accurately. So don't skimp on your pH meter. A good meter should run you around 100 bucks. Don't try making this with a $10 pH meter or litmus paper because you won't be able to get accurate enough readings to make it properly. So pH is basically the potential of hydrogen, and it's the measurement that reveals whether a solution is acidic or alkaline. And the pH scale runs from 0 to 14, with 7 being neutral. Less than 7 is acidic. More than 7 is alkaline. So to calibrate our meter, we just press and hold the button until it says calibrate, and then it's going to ask for a 7 solution, which is the green liquid in this case. This one has a 2-point buffering option, so it's going to ask for another solution here in a minute of 4, which is the pink solution. But anyway, you leave that in there until it records, and then it will ask for the 4 solution, and you'll rinse that off in distilled or tap water, kind of dab it on a paper towel, and then place it into the 4 solution. And getting the pH level is very critical, and I'll explain why here in a minute. But once you get your meter calibrated, you can turn it off, rinse it off, and just set it in a glass or vial of storage solution. That way it doesn't get dried out and the temperature stays constant, and it'll be all nice and accurate and ready to use when you need it. Okay, and now it's time to add the lye. This is my favorite part of the process. And you can use a squirt bottle. I've seen people use turkey basters. Personally, I prefer the syringe. This is just an oversized syringe you can get from your veterinarian. And this way you don't spill any, and you can add it in very slowly, which is an important part of the process, and without the spilling and stuff. So basically what we do is bring the water to a good stir, make a nice vortex in there and get the water spinning really good, and we're going to slowly add the lye solution to it. And what this is doing, this is actually extracting the o.r.m.e.s materials, or the hidden monoatomic elements that have been concealed inside the salt. And we're like basically freeing the light and consciousness that's trapped in matter and giving it rebirth. And this is done by raising the pH clear up to 10.78 without going over. And if you don't get up to at least 10.5, the platinum elements like gold, iridium, etc., they won't fall out. If you go over 10.78, some nasty things called Gilchrist elements, Gilchrist elements, will drop out of the water, and they are bad for you. But this is just the very first little dab we're putting in here, and you can see how much o.r.m.e.s is coming out from just adding a little bit of lye solution. And you can see it kind of mellows out a little bit, and some really neat stuff happens. Some of it floats to the top, and the other ones kind of swim around for a while. But o.r.m.e.s elements are believed to exist in the superphysical realm, that is halfway between the physical plane and the spirit plane. And it's been proven to be capable of biological transmutation. In other words, the body can convert this stuff into whatever it needs. It's like a materialized spirit, or a liquid alchemical angel, the pure white essence of materialized light. And this, as you can see, a phenomenon happens. These larger flakes, once they settle to the bottom, after a while, if you wait and don't start stirring right away, you'll watch and they'll start levitating and flying around. And these larger pieces are called white doves. All right, I appreciate you guys watching. This is Trebor 7. Good day, God bless, and namaste.